why you should not DIY your legal processes and documents. Hi there, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Conscious Counsel podcast with your host, Cory Sterling. That's me. This week's episode is a solo episode, and it's a big one. I'm going to talk about why you should not DIY your legal processes and documents. Hot off a fresh story that I have with one of my clients, I'm excited to share with you and let you know why you should not try to do legal things by yourself. And as always, the mission and the intent of recording this podcast is to provide you with helpful and practical information to protect and grow your health and wellness business with confidence and clarity. Confidence, clarity, that's what I want for you. I want you to know what's up. So, as always, each week when I do a solo episode, I try to talk about some sort of insight or observation or story of something that happens in my mailbox. Because you're out there building your health and wellness business, you're not thinking about the legal issues or legal things, and I am thinking about it all day because that's what I do. And so in this week's episode, I want to talk about the importance of not trying to do things yourself when it comes to law. In the same way that I don't try to do things myself when it comes to accounting. I have an accountant, and even though I can use Claude or AI or whatever for all of my questions, that smaller questions that I might have when it comes to preparing my taxes and filing, I always go with my accountant. I've worked with him for years. I've never had an issue. He's always kept me protected and on the right side of following the rules, and that's what's most important. And for some reason, there are just people who like to cut corners and try to do the legal things themselves. So the risk is when you're engaging in either writing a contract or filing a trademark or protecting intellectual property, and you're doing the things on your own, you don't understand if it's good or bad. There's a computer, there's a screen, a robot on the other side of the screen that's saying, yeah, this is what you need, this is perfect, although it can make mistakes and it doesn't practice specifically as a lawyer. Or sometimes you can be getting a template from someone else whose coach gave it to them and you're using that. Or you can be just thinking, oh, like this isn't that hard, like I can do this myself. And there is a reason that the legal profession exists, and there is a reason that lawyers operate, and that's because we are trained to think a certain way, to understand what the rules and the laws are, and to protect our clients to make sure that they are protected. So what happens is sometimes people will do things on their own and they'll think like, cool, wow, I just saved $4,000 because I didn't have to work with a lawyer to do this. And then what happens is they go, maybe it's 6 days, maybe it's 6 months, however long a period of time where they think, oh, everything's great. I was able to do this thing on my own. And then a problem comes up and then you need to enforce your legal rights and you're not able to. And the reason why you're not able to is because the legal agreements that you have don't actually protect you because they're not at best legal practices for our industry of health and wellness, or you tried to do something and you didn't do it correctly. So I'm going to share 2 stories that I'm going through this week with clients. They're both sad stories that I'm hoping to turn the frown upside down, but they are real and they happened and you should know about them. The first is a client who is crushing it. They have a really, really big business. They're doing really, really well. And they have a super cool logo that they tried to register for trademark by themselves some years ago. Okay, they put forward the application. Cool. At this point, everything's great. They submitted a trademark application by themselves, and they thought, awesome, great, it's going. I clicked the submit button. Everything must be perfect. Time goes on. The USPTO rejects the trademark, has all of these technical questions for them in their office action. They don't respond on time. They miss the deadline date. There was no professional to help them with it. They end up losing the trademark. The trademark application dies. And yesterday, they get an email from someone else saying, hey, you are currently using this logo, this trademark, this logo in this particular way. Since you applied and didn't succeed, in the interim, my client did apply and did succeed, and now you have 30 days to change all of your branding. And so when you're a 7-figure business, even if you're a 6-figure business, even if you're a 5-figure business, the cost and the headache and the stress of having to rebrand everything on your website, in your studio, everywhere is very costly, and it's not a lot of fun. And now my client's coming to me and they're like, well, can we revive the trademark application that died? Is there any way to fix it? And the answer is no, you didn't do it properly. And I just said to the client, I'm like, look, I love you. We've worked together for years. All I want is for you to succeed and grow. I don't know how many emails I sent you about registering trademarks properly or how many podcasts I've recorded about it, but you decided to try it on your own, which cool, respect, I get it. But now it's going to cost you a lot, plus stress, plus just rebranding fees, everything. It's so much more than the cost of doing it properly from the start. The other story that I went through with a client is a new client who has a growing business and did their own legal agreements when they started. And in part of their business model, they would allow other health and wellness business studios to use their particular method that they created. And they sort of came up in their best version of them writing it without legal expertise. They came up with a licensing agreement around it that's garbage, that it doesn't help protect anything. It's not drafted properly. It totally misses the point of what the agreement should be. And now I get a letter from an email from the client saying, hey, this is the situation. Can you help me out? There's all these studios that are using our intellectual property and we haven't allowed them. And my first question as always is, please send me a copy of the licensing agreement. And then my client said the words, quote, you're going to kill me, but I drafted this agreement by myself. And I said, I'm not going to kill you, but it's going to cost you a lot of money, and this is going to be a really stressful process to fix. And so now we're having to figure things out, and it's costing them a lot of money, and it's not going to be a simple and easy fix. And it's really devastating for the client because they put their whole business depends on this particular method that they've created and that they're letting other studios use, that now other studios are going off and using in their own particular way. So it's just a situation that for me is very sad and very difficult. And it could so easily be preventable. Like it's not that hard. I get it that working with lawyers require an investment, just do it and grow your business. And whatever it costs to hire us to do something for you, just like sell more and stay protected. And you never have to worry about these things. And you don't have to spend all of your time now running backwards and having to pay for rebranding and having to change all the signage in your studio. Like it's not cool. It's not fun. So as always, the reason why I share these stories is because these are the things that happen to my clients. These are real stories for real clients of mine. And so many of time, I wrote a book called The Yoga Law Book in 2018. And in the first chapter of that book, I told the pay me now, pay me later story. Mike Stevens, was one of my first legal mentors. He's like, the thing you have to tell all of your clients is like, pay me now to do everything properly from the start, or you're going to have to pay me later once there's a problem, and then it's going to cost you a lot more and be much bigger headaches. And it's just like, I've been doing this 9 years and it's still the same stories. So I take the time to record these podcasts to let you know these things actually happen. And yeah, it's very real. And I love my clients. I love my community. We need more health and wellness businesses in the world to help provide change and support transformation for people. Like we're all in this for the exact same reason. And the small part that I play is the legal piece and letting people know how they can build and grow their businesses with confidence and clarity. So in summary, for this week's episode, don't try to do legal by yourself. Don't get generic templates and use them. Don't use ChatGPT and use it to draft contracts, especially when a lot of your livelihood and your family's livelihood is at stake. Like there is something at stake. There is something that can be lost here. And so the two stories that I shared is one with a client who tried to register a trademark logo on their own, didn't do it properly, messed it up. Someone else registered before them, and now they're going through a rebrand. And the second story is with a client who drafted their own version of a licensing agreement of which was not relevant or legally appropriate for the context of how it wanted to be used. And now we're having to trace backwards, and it's going to be a big project and cost tens of thousands of dollars to fix. And I just wish we could have done it properly from the start. So if any of this resonates, you can just find us on Instagram at consciouscounsel, shoot us a message, and whatever you're doing, make sure you work with a lawyer who loves you. Peace.